Respected Vice Principal Dr. K. Kiran Kumar Garu, and respected resource person Dr. M. Narendra. He is from Vignan University. And my dear students, very good morning to all. Today, CSIT department conducting a SOC program on .NET programming. First of all, thank you for accepting this workshop, sir, Narendra sir.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, okay. Dear students, middle of the session, I will give feedback form, or end of the session, I will give feedback form. If you are giving the feedback form, then only I will give the attendance. You please concentrate on this program. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Narendra sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall you start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, guys. As sir already said, myself Narendra. I am from Vignan University. I am working as assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science. So I am very happy to share my knowledge with respect to the C# programming concerns. Okay. So the next 3 days. So first, let me tell you what I'm going to discuss in the next 3 days. Basically the focus is developing an end-to-end application. Okay. In the first day, what I do is I'll teach you the basics of C# programming. Okay. How to write a small program, so how to work with the variables, data types, and how to work with the loops, and how to work with the decision making statements, how to work with the arrays, strings. Okay. So the first day is all about how to write very basic programs using C#. And the second day, so what I'm going to explain is, I'm going to explain how to design a graphical user interface applications with the C# with the help of a .NET framework. Okay, so when I say graphical user interface applications, and you can see, so these are the graphical user interface applications. You can see. So we can say we are going to develop a desktop application that will run on our desktops, whether it is desktop or laptops. So the main focus is to learn how to develop these Windows-based applications, as well as in third day, what I will teach you, I'm going to teach you how to connect the database, which means how to get the data from the front end and store the data into the back end. So, and similarly, I'll teach you how to retrieve the data from the back end and present the data into the front end. So for this one, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use my Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. So you need throughout this session, and if you want to follow and if you want to learn what I'm teaching, and you need two softwares. One is Visual Studio, and the second one is MySQL Server. Okay, so MySQL Server basically I use to connect with the database. Okay, and you need MySQL Server, Microsoft MySQL Server in third day. Okay, for the first 2 days, if you want to follow me, you should have installed a software called as Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay. So I repeat once again, the first day you'll have the basic C# programming. Second day, you'll have demonstration about how to design a graphical user interface applications that will run on the Windows. Okay. And third day, I help you to connect the database so that we can store the data into the database and we can retrieve the data from the database. Okay. And so basically, .NET is actually a framework. .NET is not a programming language actually. Like how we have JDK, so Java Development Kit for Java, and here we have .NET framework. Okay, so .NET is not a programming language, whereas .NET is the framework. Okay, and the .NET framework supports very good number of programming languages. It supports around 60 programming languages, and C# is one of them. Okay, C#, C#.NET, VB.NET, these are the major programming languages. But apart from these two, .NET framework support around 60 programming languages. Okay, C# is actually an object-oriented programming language. It is similar to your C++ and Java. Okay, the basic construct is same as C, except that it is having an object-oriented programming language like C++ and Java. So if you are comfortable with the C as of now, and you don't need much dedication, you don't need much time to learn C#. Okay, So most concepts is similar to what you learn in C. And if you already learned either C++ or Java, you are very good to go with object-oriented programming language. And basically, it is developed by Microsoft, okay, as part of the European Computer Manufacturers Association and ISO, okay. And it has C# is having 10 versions, okay. And the first version is released in 2002, and the latest version is C# version 10, and it is released in November 2021, okay. So before you learn how to write C# programs, first you should understand what is the backbone for this C# programming language, whether it is C# or VB.NET. What is the backbone for these programming languages? So the backbone for these programming language is a .NET framework, okay? And this .NET framework contains a good number of components like a CLR, FCL, CLI, GC, JIT, CLS, and CTS. And it is like a virtual machine, okay? It is like a virtual machine where you can compile your codes and you can execute your codes, okay? And if you already have an idea about Java programming language, it is same like JVM. In Java, we have something called as Java Virtual Machine, whereas in .NET Framework, we have something called as .NET Framework, okay? So this .NET Framework will help us to compile our programs, to execute our programs, and to use already available classes, methods, and namespaces. Okay, and the first version of .NET is actually released in 2002, and the current version is being actually 6. Okay, in the slides I have mentioned it as 4.7.1, but it actually the latest version of .NET Framework is 6.0. Okay, as I said earlier, this .NET Framework supports more than 60 programming languages. Out of the 60, and C# and VB is the main programming language. Okay, and let us understand these components. .NET Framework is actually having good number of components like CLR, FCL, CLI, GC, JIT, CLS, and CTS. Let us understand what these are. So the first one is a common language runtime. Okay, these common language runtime is responsible to compile and execute your .NET programs, any .NET related programming languages like C#, VB.NET. Okay, it is a virtual machine where you can compile your codes and you can execute your codes. Okay, and when it manages both the managed code and as well as unmanaged codes. Okay, and the second component is a framework class library. It is if you know C programming language. Okay, this FCL content is similar to your header files like stdio.h, coin.h, string.h, math.h. Okay, these FCL contains predefined libraries, okay, which consist of set of classes, methods, and objects. Okay, you can make use of these predefined classes so that your programming becomes easy and you need not to write a lot of code again and again and again. Okay, and you can make use of predefined classes, methods that are available in FCL when you're writing the program. Okay, and a common intermediate language. Basically, this .NET, C#.NET, we call it as the platform independent programming language, like Java. Whereas C++ is not a platform independent programming language, whereas Java as well as C# is both are a platform independent programming language. In the sense, when you compile your code, it does not generate machine code directly. If like C and C++. Okay, in C and C++, what happens is, whenever you compile your program, directly a machine code will be generated, and the machine code is a platform dependent. So which means the machine code generated in one platform, it is not suitable to run in another platform. Whereas in Java and C#, what we do is we don't generate machine code directly. So what we do is, instead of generating machine code directly, we generate an intermediate form. If you already have an idea about Java, in Java we generate bytecode as intermediate code. Okay, and whereas here also we generate an intermediate code. Okay, and that intermediate code is called as Microsoft Intermediate Language. So what is the purpose of generating this intermediate code? Why don't we generate machine code directly? Okay, if you generate machine code directly, you cannot execute the same code in other platforms. Whereas if you don't generate machine code directly, if you generate intermediate code, and these intermediate code is compatible to run in other platforms if they have .NET framework. Okay, and the moment you compile your code, you will not get mission code, you will get the intermediate code, and you have to execute this intermediate code in whatever the platform you want, but you have to make sure that every platform is having .NET framework. And there is something called, this is one of the important thing called as garbage collector. We call it as GC. The purpose of the garbage collector is to deallocate the memory which is not in use. For example, assume that you create an object for which the scope is finished. Okay, when an object loses its scope or lifetime, you are supposed to deallocate the object. What happens if you don't deallocate? Okay, and the memory will be wasted, and you will have memory leaks. Okay, so what garbage collector will do is the garbage collector will identify a set of objects which are no longer needed. Okay, the garbage collector itself by automatically identify a set of objects or set of variables that are no longer needed, and those set of objects and variables that are no longer needed will be removed automatically by the garbage collector, so that you will not have any memory leaks. And similarly, JIT, a just-in-time compiler, basically we use this just-in-time compiler to convert your intermediate code to the machine code. It's as simple as that. If your compiler will convert your high-level program into intermediate language, and whereas this JIT takes care of translating your intermediate code into a machine code. And we have two types of code that you can generate. One is managed code and unmanaged code. So the managed code will be if you compile your program with a target of CLR, you can go with the managed code. If you want to compile a code that is targeted directly to the architecture, then you can go with the unmanaged code. Okay, so if your target is CLR, and if the CLR would like to execute the program, then you can generate managed code. And if you don't want to involve CLR to execute your programs, you can generate unmanaged code. Okay, where we target the computer architecture. Okay, so then apart from this, why actually we need C#? Because if you know C or C++ or Java, in any of these three languages, so C# is the same as those programming languages, and it is widely used to develop your desktop applications and web applications, and you can also develop games by using this C#. Okay, and one more advantage to this C# is having its own community. When I say community, the community is the place where many programmers are involved, and you can discuss among the community. So if you have any issues when writing a program, if you have any issues while solving a program in C#, you can post that queries in a community, and the people in that community will help you to solve those problems. Okay, so like Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow is an example for a community where all the likely-minded people will interact in one platform to solve each other problems. Okay, so apart from web application, you can also generate console applications. You can also develop web APIs. You can also develop Windows services. You can also develop backend services, and you can also develop video games. So these are the applications. So wherever you go, and you can use C# to develop any to provide solution for any problems. So as I told you, we have 10 versions of C#, starting from C# 1.0 to C# 10.0. Okay, so if you want to execute your programs, if you want to execute your C# programs, and you need to install a software called as Visual Studio. Okay, so I have provided link in the slide. I'll share these slides with you so that you can download the required software. Okay, it's very simple. You just go to Google and search for Visual Studio, and you try to download a community version. The community version is a free. Being academicians like you and me, for us, the community version is sufficient enough, which is free of cost. Okay, download Visual Studio and install this .NET desktop development. Okay, so once we install Visual Studio, so basically how can we execute our C# programs? There are three ways. One is you can use any online compilers. Let's say, I'll show you. We have good number of online compilers are available. So you can make use of any one of these online compilers. A good number of websites are providing online compilers. You can make use of those websites as online compilers. If you don't have your laptop, or if you don't have your desktop, you can work in online. Okay, so in online you can write your own programs and you can improve your programming language. Okay, and that is the first method. Okay, and if you're having a desktop or a laptop, what you can do is you can install Visual Studio, and Visual Studio is an IDE, integrated development environment, where you can write your programs, you can compile, and you can execute. And another one is you can execute your programs through command line also. Okay, so if you want to execute your C# programs through command line, first you have to compile your program. Okay, so to compile your program, the command is CSC. Okay, CSC space file name .cs. The extension for C# programs is .cs. Okay, like C for C programs, and CPP for C++, and .java for Java. Similarly, for C#, .cs is the file extension. So which means whenever you write your program, you are supposed to save your file with .cs extension. And if you want to compile your program through command prompt, the syntax is CSC space file name .cs. Okay, so once you compile your program, and if your program does not have any errors, straight away you can run your program. Okay, you just have to simply type file name. Okay, or if you there is one more way you can run your programs. Whenever you write C#.NET applications through Visual Studio, it will generate .exe file. You can open the exe file, you can double click the file, and you will get an output. Okay, so I'll show you this. Okay, I'll show you where you have to find .exe file so that you can directly execute the exe file. Okay, and so first let us understand the basic syntax, the basic prototype for our C# programs. The first line is using, followed by the name of a namespace. Okay, this keyword is called as system keyword is called the system is a namespace. Okay, this namespace contains a predefined set of classes, methods. Okay, you can make use of those classes and methods when you're writing your program. Okay, and this statement is similar to hash include in your C program, hash include in C++, and import statement in Java. Okay, so this is like hash include in C and C++, and import statement in Java. Okay, and this is a namespace, and this is not a mandatory. Okay, you have to open a namespace and close the namespace. So this is not a mandatory actually. So the purpose of this namespace is to group set of classes under a single tree. Okay, basically we use these namespaces to categorize our classes based on their need. Okay, so and this is not a mandatory. Okay, so this is not a mandatory. If you want, you can neglect this. You can neglect this. Okay, like Java, in C# also we write classes. Okay, the syntax for class is name of the class, class keyword followed by the name of the class. Okay, class keyword followed by the name of the class, open the class and close the class. Okay, and every programming language you will have a main method, like C, C++, and Java, and here also you have a main method. Okay, and this main method is static void main string args. Okay, when I say void, which means this method is not going to return any values. Okay, and this args is a command line arguments. Okay, this args is a command line arguments. Okay, you can make use of these command line arguments during execution. Okay, when you are executing a program, whatever the parameters you pass, and that will be passed to this function. Okay, And if you want to print a message like printf in C, you have to use a method called as write method or write line method. Okay, you have to use a write method or write line method provided by the console class. Okay, so let me explain this. Okay, let me okay, from now onwards, what we do is we do all the hands-on. Okay, I'll explain you right from the beginning. Okay, this is going to be the hands-on sessions. The next 3 days, I'm going to give the hands-on session. Okay, and see. Let's see how to write the programs. Okay, first create a new project. Go to File, create a new project. I'm doing this in Visual Studio. Okay, and you can set different types of project. Are you going to develop console-based applications, or are you going to develop Windows forms? Okay, today we will see how to develop console-based applications. Tomorrow we will see the Windows forms. Okay, choose console app. Okay, let's say my first app. And you can choose .NET framework. Okay, I have .NET 6.0. Let me choose that. Okay, so you create a project in Visual Studio. Okay, okay. Let us write the first program. The first one is going to be the importing. Okay, the corresponding namespaces. So there is a namespace called as system namespace, which contains good number of classes and objects that will be useful for us to read the data and write the data and to perform basic operations. Okay, and the next one is if you want, you can create a namespace. Namespace first. Okay, if you want, you can create a namespace, and this namespace is not mandatory. Okay, if you want, you can neglect this. And you have to create a class. So every file will contain a class. How to create a class? Class keyword followed by name of the class. Open the class and close the class. And every project should have the starting point from where the execution is already actually starts. Okay, so for this one also you should have a starting point, and that starting point we call it as the main method. So I don't want to return any value. Remember, in main method, M is uppercase letter. So as far as C# is concerned, all the method names will start with the uppercase letter. So this is the command and arguments. It is useful for you. Okay, so this is a command and argument. This will be useful for you, and if you want to pass any input when you're executing your program. Okay, first let us. It is always a good practice for us to always start with the hello world program. And if it is C programming, what we do, we print our message. If you want to print a message, you have to use printf method. Okay, like printf method in C programming language, we use something called as a write method provided by console class. Console.write method. And here you can provide whatever the text you would like to provide. It's always we always start learning a new programming language with hello world. That's it. That's it. Okay, so this is very simple C# programming, C# code. Okay, and let us run this. See, now you can see an output here. Okay, you can observe hello world output. Okay. So basically, after the program is completed, if you want to wait till you press a key, what you can do is you can call a method called as ReadKey. So the purpose of the ReadKey is it will wait until a key is pressed. Wait until a key is pressed. Okay. Let's see how it looks like. Okay. So the output is hello world. See, now the program is not terminated. The program will be terminated only when you press any one of the keys. The moment I press a key and the program is terminated. Okay. So observe the difference between these two. Okay. So the read key method basically waits for a key. The moment you press any one key, the program will be terminated. Let's see the output without this one and with this one. See okay, it is not waiting. Okay. If you want your program to wait until you press a key, just you add this code. Okay, the moment you press a key and the program will be terminated. Okay. As I told you, this namespace is not mandatory. Let me remove this namespace and let me show you the execution. See, I remove namespace. Let's see whether it will be executed or not. Okay, still it is executed. So namespace is not mandatory. If you want, you can add it. So basically, we use the namespaces to properly organize our classes. So ask me any doubts if you have so far. Let me know whether I'm speed or you need to reduce the speed or increase the speed. Are you clear up to this point? Then we'll move to the next one. Am I audible? Just respond once if I am audible, at least. Anyone? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chaitanya. Okay, let us proceed. Okay, we know how to print the message. So what is the next? What is our next? What is our next target? We should know how to read the input, right? So let us read the input. Okay. To read the input, you have to read. You have to make use of something called as console dot read line method. There is a method called as a read line method. Okay, and this read line method will read one line of data from the command prompt from the standard IO device. Okay, and basically it will read the data in the form of a string. Okay, so basically read line method can be used to read one line of data from the standard input device, and this read line method returns string type. Okay, so if you don't know the details about the method, just place a cursor on the method. This method will give you all the details. See here, the read line method reads the next line of characters from the standard input stream and returns the next line of characters from the input stream or null if no more lines are available. Okay, so read the data and print the data. Okay, now I don't want to print hello world. I would like to print what I read. Okay, let's do this. So here what I'm doing is I'm reading input, read input, print output. Okay, let's see. So whatever you read here, the same will be getting printed, because I'm printing. I have given this input as a parameter to the write method. Or you can use a write line method. I'll tell you the difference between write method and write line method. See, whatever the input you have given here, hello world, okay, the same output is produced, and it is wait until you press a key. Okay, what is the output if I use a write method, and what is the output if I use write line method? Can anyone identify what is the differences? Let's say hello world. So this is the output if I use write method. What is the output if I use write line method? So what is the difference you observe? So basically, what write line will do is it will print in one line, and immediately it will go to the next line. Okay, the write line method prints the data in a new line and go to the next line. Okay, so it's up to you whether you want to print the data in the same line or you want to go to the next line. If you want to go to the next line, use write line method, or if you want to stay in the same line, use write method. Okay, it is fine. It is fine up to this point. How to read the data. Now I don't want to. I would like to perform addition of two numbers. Okay, I would like to perform addition of two numbers. Let's say int a comma b. Declare variables of integer type and get the value. So I told you to read input, you have to use console.readLine method. But if you remember, the readLine method will give you string as a return type. But here on the left side, you have integer. Okay. On the right hand side, you are returning a string type, but on the left hand side, you're having a variable of integer type. So there's a mismatch. Okay, you're trying to assign string value to an integer. There is a mismatch, and how to do it? So you have to convert this string into an integer. Okay, for that one we have something called as int dot parse. In parse, p is uppercase letter. So int dot parse. Okay, the parse method will convert the given string into the appropriate type that you mentioned before parse. Okay, and read one more input. Okay, so what I'm doing here, read input and extract integer. Okay, here also I'm doing the same thing. Read input and extract integer. And if you want, you can perform the addition of those two numbers. Console dot write line. Let's be. So it's a little bit tricky to read other than string type of values. Okay, first read the data as a string and extract integer from the given string. Okay, by using a method called as int.parse method. Okay, and finally you can perform addition of these two and you can print the result. Let us see. It is waiting for two inputs. 63 and the addition is 9. If you want, you can add a message for this one. Addition is this is something called as concatenation. Okay, this is something called as concatenation. When I say concatenation, so I'm combining a given string with a value written by this expression. Okay, So if you want, you can add a message before this. So addition is 42. Now I would like to provide both inputs in the same line. Whether this program works, whether this program is going to work. Let's see what happens if I give both inputs the same line. Okay, I have given both inputs in the same line. Okay, see, I have given both input in the same line. Still, it is waiting. Still, it is waiting for the output, for the one more input. Okay, let me check this once again, and we'll see if there is any errors. Let me close this. So I would like to give both inputs, okay, in the same line. See what error. See what is the error. It is still waiting for one more input. I have given both inputs in the same line. I would like to read only two numbers, but it is still giving an error. Can you understand what is the reason? So the problem here is. The statement in line number 11, it reads an entire line as a single input. It reads the entire line as a single input, and here you are reading the second line. But what we have done, we have given all the inputs in the same line. So you have to change this logic. Okay, so this program does not work. Okay, if you give both inputs in the same line. So how to do then? How to change it? So if you want to give both inputs in the same line, what you can do? Okay, first read as a string. Okay, read as a string the whole line. Read the whole line as a string. Okay, read the whole line as a string. Now you tell me what value is there in the string. Let me remove this. Okay, now the string input contains all the inputs as a single string. Now what you have to do is you have to divide the string into number of subparts. Okay, let us divide this into number of subparts. Okay, and if you have n number of inputs, you will have n strings. Okay, if you provide 10 number of inputs, you will have 10 strings. So you have to split the given string into number of tokens. Okay, let's say string values. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to split the given string into number of tokens. There is a method called a split method. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is read all inputs in a single line. Okay, now the input contains all the inputs as a single string. You have to break the string into number of tokens. Number of tokens. Okay. Now we need to convert them into integer type, but these are the strings. So let us convert one by one. How do I know the length of the array? So here I read all the inputs as a single line, and I split the line into number of tokens. Now the question is, how do I know the number of strings? Okay, and C# provides something called as a length method. Okay, it's very simple. See here. Okay, it provides a property called as length property. Okay, it provides a property called as length property. What you can do is you can iterate the loop for all the tokens and store the result in an integer array. Okay, and what is the length of this array? The length of this array is equal to the length of the s values. Okay, if you don't understand these arrays, I'll teach you once again how to work with the arrays. Okay, convert each value into an integer. Can you tell me how to convert a string into integer? The required code is there in the header itself. Okay, so you have to convert each value. You have to convert each value into an integer type and store in the array. Okay, and finally print this value. So print these values. Look at this. So here what I'm doing is I'm reading the whole input as a single line, split